So let's just jump right in. Cast your mind back to 2019. The world was kind of baffled, right? The President of the United States comes out with this idea that sounds like it was ripped from a history book. He wants to buy Greenland. It just seemed totally absurd, but what came out next was honestly even more wild.
Yeah, that was the message. No mincing words. A direct threat, really, suggesting that if a deal wasn't on the table, the U.S. might just take Greenland by force. The implication there was just staggering.
And that really gets us to the heart of the matter. The central question we're unpacking here. Why on earth would the world's biggest superpower risk its most important alliances, maybe even kick off a global conflict, over what looks like a giant frozen wasteland?
I mean, on the surface, it makes absolutely no sense. We're talking about the world's biggest island, but its entire population could fit inside a football stadium. Its whole GDP is basically a rounding error for a big tech company, and it depends on aid from Denmark just to function. So what is really going on?
Well, to understand Greenland's real power, you have to look past the ice. Let's peel back the first layer here, its incredible importance on the world stage. And it all boils down to that old real estate mantra: location, location, location. If you just look at a globe, but from the top down, you'll see it immediately. Greenland is smack dab in the middle, the geographic halfway point between the United States and Russia. Whoever holds that island basically controls the front door to the entire Western world.
And this is where the stakes get incredibly high. See, Greenland is part of Denmark, and both Denmark and the US are founding members of NATO. And the core of NATO is Article 5, which says an attack on one is an attack on all. So, an American attack on Greenland would mean America is attacking all 32 NATO allies. The US against the UK, France, Germany, it's just unthinkable.
And here's the kicker. The U.S. is already there. They have a huge airbase, a critical radar station that's basically America's tripwire. If Russia ever launched a missile over the North Pole, those radars in Greenland are the first to see it. That gives the U.S. an extra 15 to 20 minutes of warning. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in a nuclear war, that's an eternity. It's the difference between intercepting a weapon and losing a city.
But its strategic value isn't just about defense. Nope. Let's talk about its second superpower, which is all about the future of global trade. Greenland is perfectly positioned to be the gatekeeper, the toll booth operator, if you will, for the most valuable new shipping route on Earth.
For more than a century, shipping has relied on two main choke points, the Panama and Suez Canals. But as the Arctic melts, a third route is opening up, the Northwest Passage. And just look at these numbers. A trip from London to Tokyo through the Northwest Passage is thousands of kilometers shorter than the old routes.
We're talking about saving 7,000 kilometers. That cuts 2 full weeks off the journey. For a shipping company, saving 2 weeks of fuel, crew salaries, and time, that's millions of dollars on a single voyage. And Greenland sits right at the entrance to this new superhighway.
All right, so we've got geopolitics, we've got global trade. That's already a huge deal, but what's hiding under all that ice? That's where this story goes from important to just absolutely mind-blowing. We are talking about a literal buried treasure.
This one quote just says it all, doesn't it? For decades, American foreign policy has been obsessed with one thing above all else: oil. And when Washington looks at Greenland, they see an energy jackpot so big it could completely reshape the global market.
And the U.S. Geological Survey backs this up. The entire Arctic region holds a massive chunk of the world's undiscovered fossil fuels. Think about this. 13% of all the oil and a jaw-dropping 30% of all the natural gas. And a huge piece of that pie is in and around Greenland.
Let's put some hard numbers on it. Just for Greenland, the estimates are around 31 billion barrels of oil. To put that into perspective, that's about the same as the entire proven oil reserves of the United States. All of it.
But it's not just about oil. The conflicts of the future might be fought over technology. And to build that tech, you need rare earth minerals. Well, just one single deposit in Greenland is thought to hold 6.6 million tons of the stuff, the essential ingredients for everything from your phone and electric car to an F-35 fighter jet.
And the list just doesn't stop. On top of all that, you can add an estimated 593 million pounds of uranium, not to mention huge deposits of zinc, lead, and iron ore. It just keeps going.
So what's the grand total? What's the final price tag on this treasure chest?
When you add it all up, the estimated value locked under Greenland's ice is $4.4 trillion. That's trillion with a T. That's more than the entire economy of countries like India or the UK.
So this brings up a pretty obvious question, right? If this treasure has been sitting there for millions of years, why is there this sudden gold rush right now? The answer is the single biggest catalyst in geopolitics today, climate change. The Great Melt is what's finally unlocking the prize.
The speed of what's happening is just hard to wrap your head around. The Arctic is warming up 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. And because of that, Greenland is losing 30 million tons of ice every single hour.
And while this is a massive climate crisis, for superpowers, it's also a geopolitical opportunity. The receding ice does 2 things at once. First, it makes all those trillions in minerals physically reachable. You can actually get in there to mine and drill. And second, it turns that frozen, useless Northwest Passage into a reliable, year-round shipping lane.
So, does all this mean an American invasion is coming? Not necessarily. There's a much more clever, a much more subtle way to play this. Owning Greenland with ever having to officially buy it. It's the soft power playbook.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the choice here. Greenland governs itself, but it depends on about $600 million a year from Denmark to stay afloat. So the U.S. could just go to Greenland's government and make them an offer they can't refuse, declare full independence, and we'll not only match that subsidy, we'll double it. Plus, we'll pour in billions to build your airports, your mines, you get to be your own country, and we get a defense pact and first dibs on those resources.
And that's the checkmate move. The path to controlling Greenland isn't through military force. It could be through a simple democratic vote. Greenland holds a referendum, chooses to become independent from Denmark, and immediately aligns with the United States. America gets everything it wants, and not a single shot is fired.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. It leaves us with this huge, unsettling question for the future. As the actual ice of the Arctic melts and vanishes, are all the rules of diplomacy and international law going to melt away with it? Are we just watching the opening moves of a new Cold War? A collision course for control over the world's very last frontier?